Devastating rains affect the West Coast. Is there any end in sight? We look at the weather patterns leading up to your Thanksgiving holiday, and could there be changes as we move towards December? All next at the Weather Farm. Hello, welcome to the Weather Farm. I'm meteorologist Christopher Hale, and let's jump right into your forecast. We have snow moving into the northeast on our Friday, and rain continues on the west coast, bringing heavy rains, 10 to 15 inches along the coast, and several feet of snow up in the mountains. All of this is going to move east as we move into the weekend and into our Thanksgiving week, but there are signs and signals that there are a couple storms that are going to move across the country for our Thanksgiving week. And behind them, we see a definite pattern change that is going to significantly change our weather across the United States as we move out of November and into the first week of December. So stay tuned for that, because we're going to cover all those details as we see them right now. Here's our weather map for our Friday. As we mentioned, that snow is going to move out of Pennsylvania into New York, where it's going to wrap the warmer air off of the ocean back into the system. You're going to see rain across southern Maine, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and Vermont. Of course, out west, we see the bomb cyclone making more moisture. The atmospheric river continues to impact parts of California. 10, 15, 20 inches of rain are likely for our Friday and Saturday. And of course, 5 to 6 feet of snow continues in those mountainous regions. That energy, a part of it, moves into Idaho and Montana for your Saturday. And again, in those higher elevations where you were seeing rain at 7,000 and 8,000 feet on your Friday, we're now going to transition back to snow, as we will see 1 to 2 feet. And in the lower elevations, we'll see 4 to 8 inches. That system is going to move out of the northeast that brought the snow. And so even Vermont and New Hampshire, you're going to see some light snow for your Saturday, as well as parts of Ontario, as an area of unsettled weather moves across the Canadian province. As we look at our snowfall maps across the area, we see the heaviest snows are going to be concentrated across northeastern Pennsylvania into southern New York. 6 to 12 inches of snow are likely in the lower elevations, higher amounts in the mountains of Vermont and the mountains of West Virginia into southwestern Pennsylvania. As we look at the west coast, we see heavy mountain snows again across parts of California. But as we move into our Saturday and Sunday, it's the mountainous areas of northern Idaho and Montana where we see the heaviest snows occurring. Again, 1 to 2 feet in those higher elevations that we're seeing rain on our Friday, you will turn over and you will get some beneficial snows. And as the system moves down the mountains and across parts of Montana, we could see 4 to 8 inches of snow. Taking a look at our temperatures for our Friday, we'll see the coldest temperatures across the areas of the northeast where we see the snow falling, temperatures in the 30s. We also see colder temperatures across the northern plains, across parts of the Dakotas into Montana, 20s and 30s. But we see that cold air still being bottled up in Canada. But will that air be on the move? We'll see as we continue to work through the next several days. For our Saturday, we do have a little bit of that colder air moving down into North Dakota. This is associated with the snow that's going to move out of Montana into the Dakotas to our Saturday. We see a little bit of ridging building across the lower plains, temperatures into the 50s and 60s. And even across the northeast, as we move into our Sunday, we're going to see temperatures moderating a little bit into the low 40s. We're going to see temperatures that are generally around seasonal levels for this time of the year. The main exception could be across Oklahoma and Texas. Let's look at the upper air patterns as we move throughout our week. That system that brought snow to the Ohio Valley and to the northeast is going to move offshore onto our Saturday. We're going to see ridging building across the central plains and even out west. Yes, here's another system making its way onshore, bringing heavy rain and mountain snows to the Pacific Northwest. That system a part of it does seem to want to move onto shore by the time we get to our Monday. And so it's going to set the stage, and we're going to have a little trough developing across the northern plains, making its way into the lower Great Lakes. It's going to bring rain, but as we approach the Thanksgiving holiday, and this is on Wednesday, the important travel day, we're going to see another trough digging across parts of Colorado into Oklahoma. And the GFS model wants to spin up some type of system somewhere here in the Tennessee Valley. Where exactly that takes place is yet to be determined, but stay here at the weather farm for more details. And so let's put the maps into motion with the precipitation. Again, on our Friday, we're going to see those higher elevation snows across parts of Idaho and Montana, generally 7,000 feet and higher, but the snow levels will lower on Saturday as that area of low pressure brings the colder air into that area. That area then continues to dig across the upper plains on our Sunday. We see a trough forming here. We see those blue lines indicating the colder weather. Ahead of it, warm air across parts of Illinois and Indiana. And an area of low pressure will bring needed precipitation to that area as it continues to move east on our Tuesday, bringing snows to parts of Ontario. On its heels, though, we see that low developing here across Colorado. It digs into parts of New Mexico and Oklahoma and ejects out. This particular model wants to show heavy rain across parts of Kentucky and Tennessee as we make our way into our Thanksgiving holiday, and then that all settles south and east as we move into our Black Friday shopping. But however, when we look at the overall weather pattern, we see something changing. We've talked about this area off of Greenland, this Greenland blocking high that's a little bit further west. But I want to point out, here's Alaska, Siberia, here's the North Pacific. We have an anomalously high area of high pressure that is going to set up here over the next several days after we get past Thanksgiving. What is that going to do is it's going to force all the cold air that's been bottled up here in Siberia. It's got to come across the North Pole, and it's going to dive its way down across the Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And for the eastern half of the United States, as we move into that first week of December, we're going to get shot after shot of reinforcing cold air. So again, here's our Black Friday. There's that system that the GFS wants to spin up, bringing a trough of area. Right behind it, as we move into the first days of December, another trough digs out of Saskatchewan across the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. And again, we look as we move towards the 2nd of December, the first full week of December. We see ridging across the northern Canadian prairies. We see ridging out west, so we'll see a stop temporarily to those atmospheric rivers, but we continue to see cold areas of low pressure making their way across the eastern half of the United States, bringing colder weather to that region. And we can see this in our anomaly map. As we move into the days after Thanksgiving, most of our areas in the eastern half 5 degrees below normal. We see those extremely colder temperatures than normal, 40, 50 degrees colder than normal across parts of Saskatchewan. And they continue to make their way south and east every couple days or so. And as we get towards the end of that first full week here in the Ohio Valley, we could have temperatures 20 degrees below our seasonal norms for this time of year. Out west, we see ridging building. We see warmer than normal temperatures. Not significantly, 5 to 10 degrees. The real extreme is going to be up here in British Columbia, where they could see temperatures 20, 25 degrees above seasonal norms. So it is that blocking pattern that's going to set up in the western Pacific that's going to allow the colder air to dive down into the eastern half of the United States as we make our way through the first week of December. And the reason we think this is going to happen is, if you remember from our map, we see that snowfall across parts of Montana. It's going to make its way into Alberta, into Saskatchewan and Manitoba. It's going to lay down healthy snows as we approach our Thanksgiving. And then as we get past Thanksgiving, you're going to see the snowpack start to erode across parts of British Columbia as the ridging takes place over the western coast, warmer temperatures. But that colder air, and because the snowpack is going to come across Saskatchewan and Manitoba, and that snowpack is not going to deteriorate as quickly as we're going to see happening here in British Columbia. So when that colder air is dislodged because of those blocking highs in the western Pacific, that colder air is going to be able to maintain its intensity as it dives into the eastern half of the United States. So it's these reasons that we believe that after Thanksgiving, we're going to see a stormier pattern across the lower 48, especially for the eastern half of the United States, and we're going to see colder temperatures than normal than what we've seen in October and November. All of this could change. As we talked about 10 days ago, we thought the Greenland blocking high was going to take hold. It didn't. It didn't give us that pattern change that we thought we were going to see mid-November. So there's still a lot of details to be worked out as we make our way forward, but there are strong signs that this pattern is going to take hold. We hope you've enjoyed your time here at the Weather Farm. If you would, like and subscribe, click that button, click the bell notification, so every time we have new videos or there's something new that's changing in the weather pattern, you are notified and you'll get alerted in your inbox that a new video is ready. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you again soon here at the Weather Farm.